Hello everyone and welcome to Video Games and Coffee. I'm your host Daniel, and today I'll be talking about a game that has been around since 2010, but I have just now gotten around to playing it. It wasn't on my radar until I played other games by the same developer, Remedy. If you play Quantum Break and Control, you will see references as well as the main character of this particular game in Remedy's little universe they have created with these beauties. If you enjoyed these games and haven't done so already, you will without a doubt circle back to the hero author who spends endless hours trying to save his wife and look everywhere for what I assume would be size C batteries for his flashlight. Hoping they are name brand, of course, and not the quick-draining generic trash you get at the dollar store. Because with the evil you face all over Bright Falls, Washington, you don't want to be caught in the dark. I am, of course, talking about the man whose greatest weapons are his own imagination and his old-timey typewriter, Alan Wake. Okay, so here we go. We're going to get started. This is actually my last recording of 2021. I began recording back in October, and I have had very good feedback from quite a few of you, and I really do appreciate that. It's been a lot of fun for me. It's still a bit of work because as I mentioned in other episodes before, I'm not a very well-spoken person. I cannot free flow and improv, nothing like that. I have to have everything written out, if not word for word, at least a nice outline so I know, where I'm coming from and where I'm headed. So writing every episode while still working, being a dad, being a husband, it's a bit of work, and I really appreciate the good feedback I've gotten because sometimes you put out an episode and you don't think it was very strong, and you are your own worst critic. So I've found a lot of support in not just the podcaster community, but also my listeners. So thank you again for all the kind comments. And I promise I will continue on as long as you want to listen. So here it is. I got my cup of coffee. I got my show notes. I'm recording, it's Thursday, December 30th. So it's New Year's Eve. I believe the last time I recorded was Christmas Eve. It kind of sucks, right? This year, both Christmas and New Year fell on Saturdays, so you kind of feel cheated of those days off that you were supposed to have gotten from from work. So I hope that your employer at least gave you the Friday before off to help you celebrate with friends and family. But last episode of the year, and I would like to take the time to, again, welcome back my current listeners, my returning listeners, and to welcome for the first time the first-time listeners. Thank you very much, all of you, for giving me your time and listening in and hearing what I have to say. So let's go ahead and get to it. So let's talk about Alan Wake. I am very happy that I got to play this game. I played it all the way through, actually. I did not play the 360 version. I never played Alan Wake. I've heard of it. I knew of Alan Wake, but I didn't get hip to it until I played Quantum Break and Control, because those two games really got my attention on Remedy, and their quality of work is just phenomenal. And actually, in both Quantum Break and Control, there are quite a few references to Alan Wake. It's almost like this little universe that Remedy created wants you to know that everything's connected somehow. And if you haven't played Alan Wake and only played Quantum Break and Control, it's like it's telling you need to go back and play Alan Wake to kind of know not just what's going on. I mean, you can still get through these games without having played Alan Wake, but it's like it's just enticing you to go back, play Alan Wake because it's awesome, which is exactly what I did. The remaster is what I played. I don't know how it differs from the original 360 game because I never played it. I don't have any real point of comparison really between the two. But I did play the remaster. I didn't binge play it. I weekly binge played it. It took maybe 4 or 5 Fridays. Game sessions with my father-in-law. We fired it up on his PS5. It looks fantastic, and you can tell they put in a lot of work. Because for a game to look this good, and you could still tell that it is an older game, but with all the textures and the updated designs and graphics and the details, it looks very phenomenal. And I want to go back and play the 360 just to play the original game, but this is going to be a hard act to follow. Big shoes to fill because the remaster was done so well. But yeah, so it took maybe 4 or 5 Fridays to get through it, and we did play for quite a few hours at a time. So it was developed by Remedy and published by Microsoft, and it was originally announced in 2005. Now, the Xbox release was not until 2010, so they took a long-ass time to make this game. And I've said it before, I'd rather wait a long time for a quality product than wait a short amount of time for something that you walk away from thinking, that could have been a little bit, could have been done a little bit better. So the Xbox release was in 2010, 5 years after the announcement, and a couple years later, in 2012, was the official Windows PC release. And the remaster came this past October of 2021. Now, one of the writers is Sam Lake, a Finnish writer and actor famous for, there's Death Rally, a 1996 Remedy game, Max Payne 2, Alan Wake's American Nightmare, which is kind of a spin-off of the original Alan Wake, and Quantum Break and Control. So this guy's writing and this guy's imagination is phenomenal. If you've played any of these games, and he's not the only writer, but he's the one, I guess, most famous for it. I don't want to take any credit away from the other writers, but he is the guy whose name you just see everywhere when it comes to these Remedy projects. So, a video game is a collaboration of a bunch of creative people, and any other writers involved with it they're just as good. Because the product is fantastic. But Sam Lake is just the one that we see that's been involved in all of them, and but not to diminish the work of anybody else that was involved in the creative process, of course. So, if you play these games, you'll know the stories are not just like totally like out there, right? Just very, very unique as well as what they come up with, right? You get Quantum Break being time travel and Control being, Jesus, man, if you listen to my episode on Control, you'll know that I still walked away from it not knowing what the hell was going on. It's it is unlike anything. The games will be unlike anything you've played before. Now, I've never played Max Payne. That wasn't really a game, really my style when it came out. It may be a great game, great series, but it just really didn't wow me like, oh man, I got to try that out. But they may be good games. I just have nothing to say about them because I have no experience with those games. But from Alan Wake up to Control, man, we're talking about just solid delivery of these stories and gameplay and just the entire video game in general. Now, a sequel to Alan Wake was being developed, was canceled, and became the game we know today, Quantum Break. And I'm sure everyone is already aware, they just now announced Alan Wake 2 officially, which will not come out until 2023. Holy shit. Why do developers do that to us? It'd be one thing if they said, hey, it's not going to be out until, summer of next year or something like that. But 2023? Holy shit. The things that can happen between now and then. We could have another fucking pandemic. We could have, so many things can happen between now. You can, conceive, have, and start raising a child between now and then. I mean, Jesus, 2023, come on. But it looks great. That shot of Alan Wake, man, the design is pretty fantastic. I'm really psyched for it, but I just cannot believe it won't be until 2023. So that's gonna be a long wait. God damn it. So, Alan Wake itself, the video game, it draws heavy inspiration with homages to films and famous authors such as Stephen King and Neil Gaiman. Stephen King, of course, being Stephen King. Neil Gaiman is famous for the Sandman comics, the DC comics. You see little tidbits, little inspirations here and there in the game, which I thought was pretty awesome. I do like when creative people do that, filmmakers, authors, game developers, game writers, because they show that they really appreciate a lot of things that influenced them and inspired them, and they put it in their own works. And I'm sure that the people who were involved with or came up with these little works of art that they pay kind of homage to, I'm sure it makes them feel really, really cool. Really, really good about what they did, knowing that they inspired somebody else. Now, all the characters in the game are based on real life models, and so here it is, man. When it comes to, Finland, Norway, all that, here's the names, man, really kill me because I hate butchering people's names. I find it just disrespectful without being disrespectful. Indirectly disrespectful. I really tried to research this, but you don't find a lot of interviews that have these people's names in it, because I usually like to do that. I usually like to look up a YouTube video to make sure I'm pronouncing somebody's name right, to maybe watch an interview of some sort where they say their own name or the interviewer says their name, but I couldn't. So Ilka Ville is the character model for Alan Wake. He looks great with a beard, has a nice head of hair, and essentially, if you look at Alan Wake, that's what Ilka Ville looks like. So it doesn't seem to be a kind of a completely like a direct copy of him, like a clone of him, but you can see it definitely resembles him. Now, Jonah, holy shit, Jarvempa? Oh man, I am so sorry that I butchered this one. She is the real life model for Alice Wake, that is Alan Wake's wife in the game. Now, Matthew Porretta is the voice of Alan Wake. And I was kind of confused by this because I really looked this up to make sure if I was right on this. Now, Alan Wake narrates the game for you. You hear his internal monologue, and I believe that is the voice of Matthew Porretta, but the model itself is Ilka Ville. Now, Matthew Porretta also did Control, and he was in Quantum Break as well. If you played Control, he was the scientist guy you always saw in recordings in the TV, wearing the glasses and like the white coat or whatever. But I actually saw an interview with Porretta saying, I am the voice of Alan Wake. So I believe that's what it is. I think Ilka Ville has a very heavy Finnish accent. So I don't know if he doesn't speak English or he wouldn't have spoken English without a thick accent. So I'm thinking that the character of Alan Wake is the combination of these two individuals. If I'm wrong, I am sure somebody's going to let me know. So thank you in advance. Just make sure you do it nicely online, okay? The game takes place in Bright Falls, Washington. It's a fictional little city, little town. I love the way it's laid out. It's a cute little thing, but it does not exist. But the landscape and the environment is really, really good and really makes you believe that you are in Washington. It kind of reminds me of the same landscape from Days Gone, which takes place in Oregon. But when you get to the Pacific Northwest, there's it's just beautiful mountains and trees. Everything's green and lively, and it's just, everything's just gorgeous, beautiful views and everything. So I did read that the crew traveled to and drove like 2,000 miles to research the Pacific Northwest area. So they took a lot of photos and videos to make sure they got everything down and to make it as realistic as possible. And it really does show, because not for a second do you believe that where he is in the game, where Alan Wake is at in the game, isn't a real place. And it isn't, but it was the creative minds at Remedy that made such a beautiful town and beautiful area to traverse. The soundtrack to the game is wonderful, and the composer is Petri Alanko, which I saw that and I recognized that game. I was like, oh, holy shit, that's the guy who did the music to Control and Quantum Break. That was really, really awesome. So I was happy to see his name there, and I'm happy to know that he's a Remedy regular. I was looking at his bio and all his work, and he actually did... Now, there's a song from Trials Fusion, and if you don't know Trials Fusion, it's kind of like a modern-day Excite Bike. If you remember Excite Bike on the Nintendo, the first Nintendo Entertainment System, Excite Bike was great, and Trials Fusion is a wonderful scratch to that itch, since we don't have a redo of Excite Bike today. And there was a song, I believe it was in the beginning, like at the main menu, called Welcome to the Future, which is fucking awesome. This is how much of a nerd I am. But I like shit like this, man. But that song was great, and it wasn't until now that I realized that it was actually him. And I heard this song years ago, and it wasn't until yesterday when I was looking up Alanko's kind of works that he did. And okay, I was like, sure enough, it's cool. It's Quantum Break, Control, there's Alan Wake. I was like, holy shit, Trials Fusion. Wait a minute. His name does sound familiar. And yeah, I looked it up, and he does that Welcome to the Future song. So if you want to pause this right now and YouTube Welcome to the Future by Petri Alanko, go for it, and then tell me what you think, because I love that song. It's a good running, or just workout song. It's a good driving song as well. So I digress. I'm talking too much about that. So the soundtrack is wonderful. There are also licensed songs that are of other artists in the game as well. So it's kind of like Control had a bunch of... They had all the original tracks that Alanko did, as well as a bunch of licensed songs that you found throughout the game. I like when they do that in games. It gives you a good variety in the game's music. You have the original instrumental tracks, and then you have licensed songs. Some songs that you may already know of, and other songs that you may not know. I've personally have gotten hip to artists, groups, and just songs in general by finding them out like this within a game. So I'm all for that. So let's go into the actual game itself. When you start the game, it's from beginning to end, it has a very mysterious, eerie, weird, Twin Peaks kind of vibe. I go back to Twin Peaks because if you ever watched that show, it's set in like a kind of a landscape, environment, little town, like what we see, in Bright Falls and Alan Wake. So it starts off with a little bit of narration. The writing is so good in the game, and it has to be in this game in particular because you're writing about a writer, and you're writing about a best-selling author. So Alan Wake is a best-selling author of thriller, crime fiction in the game, and I feel like the pressure is on because the game itself needs to have good writing, but also what Alan Wake himself says in the game, particularly when he references and when you find pieces of his own work in it has to be top notch. It has to be best-selling author material. And Sam Lake and the other writers involved did a fantastic job of that because the writing is so solid. The game, it's not as weird as Control, but you still don't know what's going on in the game. I believe there are 5-6 chapters. Jesus, I just finished it on Tuesday night. I can't remember. I think it's 6, what they call episodes. 5 or 6 episodes. I think it's 6. And at the end of each episode, it absolutely keeps you on a cliffhanger and wanting more. In fact, every time we made it through an episode, we're like, God damn it, what happens next? We got to wait another week, to play it and find out. But the writing is phenomenal. I cannot stress that enough. The Sam Lake and the other writers just did a 110% A+ job on this because it felt very believable. You really felt like Alan Wake was the best-selling author that he was supposed to be in this particular game. So it starts off, he does a little bit of narration. I believe he quotes Stephen King at some point, and what goes into a story or what makes it believe, something like that. So you have kind of a shot of the landscape and the environment of Bright Falls. He's on this road, and it's at night, and he ends up hitting somebody. He's distracted or something, and then he ends up hitting a person in the middle of the road. He gets out. Of course, the headlights are on this, shining on this body in the middle of the street, and he's like, "Oh shit!" Right? Like, well, what's going on? I didn't, he didn't see him. He hit him. Oh my God, he's dead. Now he's gonna go to prison for the rest of his life, maybe. And then he turns away, and then he turns back, and the body's gone. Now, from this moment on until you finish the game, you have no idea whether or not the entire game is a dream or if it's reality. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I don't want to spoil it for you. But you will not find out until pretty much the very end of the game. And you will be wondering, holy shit, is this actually happening? Or is this just a figment of Alan Wake's imagination? You find out that much like in Control, you come across the townsfolk, and they seem to be possessed. Now they are referred to as the Taken in this. So what they call the darkness in the game is kind of a entity, a presence. It's much like it's possessing the whole town and the people in it, and each person is possessed by this darkness. So, and I'm not going to spoil this really because you find this out in the very beginning of the game. Somebody comes at you, you can't really hurt them because they're possessed by this blackness, like this shadow or whatever that's around them. You shine your flashlight on them, and it weakens them, and it takes that darkness out of them. So now you can harm them. Now, unfortunately, your flashlight, once it makes the darkness go away, it's still possessed, basically. The body, the person is still possessed. So you have to shoot them, or else they will kill you. And these sons of bitches come at you with, scythes. Is it pronounced scythe? Scythe? Whatever. You know what I mean. The Grim Reaper shit, that big ass blade. Hatchets, axes, hammers. I mean, we're talking every hillbilly redneck tool you can think of. They come at you with them. So you cannot harm them until you shine the light on them long enough to where you hear kind of like this pop, like this poof, and then the darkness is gone, and then you can go ahead and stop them in their tracks with your pistol. Now you reach these light posts that shine a light down in the road or on the street or wherever you're at, and those are basically both checkpoints and a place where you can replenish your health. Now, when you get harmed and when you get hurt in the game, your health slowly comes back, but if you get into the light, it comes back really, really fast. So you don't have to, throughout the game, you don't find kind of like power-ups or health packs or med kits, nothing like that. It's a game of, it's light and darkness and the battle between the two, and the light is good and the darkness is bad. So you have to make sure that you strategically, you know, when you fight these guys, and they'll come at you in numbers, man. When these rednecks come at you, they come at you from all fucking sides. They don't just come at you from, you know, the very front of you. They'll on your side, behind you, especially like if you're in the middle of the woods or something. Oh, fuck. Just keep going. Hopefully, a good strategy I used is if it gets too hard, there might be a light post shining a light down just a bit past them. So I found myself dying 5, 6, 7, 8 times. I'm like, God damn it, there's a lot of them to fight. I try to go past them. I try to run and dodge their attacks. And now, be forewarned here. Alan Wake, he's not a runner. Okay, he's not. He's more of a sprinter. He's not a cross-country endurance runner here. So I believe if you're on the PlayStation, if it's L1 is sprint, and his sprint lasts probably 2.5 seconds. And then he gets very tired and he starts just walking again. It's so aggravating, especially when you have 15 of these assholes coming at you with all their sharp weapons. But try to find a light to get under. It's not only a checkpoint, but it regenerates your health. So throughout the game, you find pages of his manuscript, and it's essentially his writing, his book, and they also serve as collectibles, and they're really good. The narration is awesome. The voice actor Peretta he's got a great voice for this game, and I enjoyed listening to him reading through Alan Wake's story. So you collect pages throughout the game, and I'm sure there's an achievement if you collect all of them. But in games like this where you have a firearm of some sort, you don't give much thought to, well, who just places bullets somewhere that you can pick up, right? So if you're playing like let's say a survival game or some shit, and you don't have like a vendor that you buy ammunition from, you're just running around, whether it's in the house or a room or a building or out in the street, like, oh shit, here's a box of bullets. And we've grown accustomed to that because we've been doing it for so long that you don't think about it anymore, right? It doesn't pull you out of that fantasy, where you're like, this is unbelievable. I mean, there's like a $20 box of rounds just sitting here. This would have easily, cost quite a bit of money. But hey, whatever, I'll take it, right? Because I need to shoot the bad guys. It doesn't pull you out of the fantasy, the illusion anymore. But the fact that your batteries can run out in this game, okay, when you come across packs and packs of what I think for this flashlight has to be at least C batteries. Those fucking things are expensive, man. Now, I am on Amazon right now. And if you're looking at a 4-pack of Amazon Basics C-cell all-purpose alkaline batteries, they are $6.36. Now, you move up to Energizer or Duracell, and you're talking about, let's see, an 8-pack of Energizer is $15, dog. I mean, this shit's expensive. Which leaves the question, what did he pick up more of in value? Ammunition or fucking batteries in this game? And goddamn, you can have up to, I think, like 22 batteries at some point. That shit's heavy too. So that's where the game loses me. Not in the rounds, not in the possessed poltergeist kind of shit that happens, but it's the amount of batteries and the value of batteries that he just finds randomly throughout the game in this town. So yeah, I know. I'm weird, but that's what I'm thinking of, because this shit's expensive, man. But moving on, you start to figure out that a lot of the characters, the enemies that you're facing, are characters that you created in your story, in this last story that is unfinished, essentially. And for some reason, this dark presence is using your unfinished story against you and making you live it. You're living through these events that are in your book, which is a really cool concept. I don't think I've ever, I know I've never played a video game that was like that. I don't really think I've watched a movie or watched a show that had the same kind of concept. So um, I loved it. I absolutely loved this game. Now, in the beginning, very early on in the game, it kind of goes back and forth. You start off with this gameplay, and then there's kind of a flashback to just normalcy, right? You and your wife are arriving in Bright Falls. You took a vacation together. Now there's some friction there. There's some trouble in that marriage. I've come to think that Alan Wake is pretty arrogant, because I think he's just so used to being successful, and he's going through some writer's block right now, hence the unfinished story, and that's causing some problems in your marriage. So you've taken a vacation. Your wife wants to, to kind of, alleviate that tension that's been going on at home. But then and you don't know again until the very end of the game whether she is dead or alive, because she is taken by whatever it is happening in this entire town, this dark presence, to the very bottom, to what looks to be like a very large lake. So it seems that she drowns because she's pulled in. But hey, I'm not going to tell you what happens. You have to play through the entire game to find out. There is there's a lot of things that you will not find out till the very end, so they will not spoil it throughout the episodes that you play through. So yeah, the enemies, they don't vary their attacks. So I can't remember what episode I did where I said that it was a game where you had to vary your attacks, or else the enemies kind of pick up on your technique, and then whatever technique you were using is no longer working if you just do the same thing over and over again. But in this game, you defeat the enemies the exact same way. They just get harder because you start facing stronger enemies, or you start facing them in bigger numbers. But the whole the technique is still the same. You got to shine them. You got to kill that darkness with the light to make them vulnerable, and then you can attack with a weapon. Now, you can get pistols, you can get a rifle, you can get shotguns, you can upgrade your flashlight. I believe there's 2 additional upgrades that you find in the game. So you have kind of like a basic flashlight, and then I think you find a bigger one, and then you find one of those big ass, like big rectangular looking torches that shine a much brighter, more potent light, and can take the dark presence out of the taken hillbillies a lot easier than the small flashlights. And something else that really trips you up to not knowing exactly what is real and what is not, because you'll be going through the game where you're playing and it's just horror, right? It's horror. There's poltergeist fucking attacking you, and these people are attacking you, and then there'll be a cutscene to where there'll be a cutscene, and you can also play some lighter areas in the game where it kind of seems like Alan Wake wakes up. So again, you're like, okay, is the horror part of it real, or is it the dream? Or maybe it's the lighter parts of the game that's the dream, or is that real? You just don't know. And Remedy did a great job of not giving it away, till the very end. So you play through it not knowing what the hell is going on, but compelled to finish it because you want to know what the conclusion is at the very end. Now, I love Alan Wake's attire, man. Now, he wears what I've always called the Kevin Smith Dogma outfit. Now, if you've ever seen Dogma by Kevin Smith, I believe it's a 90s movie. It was a good one, but you have Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. They kind of wear a hoodie underneath, like a sport coat. I have worn that look, that style for years. So that's what Alan Wake wears, and I'm like, rock on. I can deal with that. Only thing I can't deal with was he kind of looks like he wears cowboy boots. That is certainly not my style. Um, if I was Alan Wake in this game, I wear the same jacket, same hoodie, and I probably have on some Chucks. But the style is pretty cool. He looks, he's got the kind of a George Michael 5 o'clock shadow, and yeah, now his face is very different from the original Xbox version of it, but it's updated, tastefully to make him look more like a real person, and it didn't really take away from what he looked like. It just made it even better, more realistic. So the character of Alan Wake, he seems just like a normal guy, in an ordinary guy in a very extraordinary situation here with these asses. But the game is creepy as shit. It doesn't matter whether you're indoors or outdoors. The dark presence, when it comes, some serious shit's gonna go down. It's very spooky. Playing it in the dark, that's pretty much the way to go. I loved it. I there was not one point where I was bored in it. Not one point I was bored. There was not one point where I was like, it's just like, let's just get through it just to find out what happens. That's not the case at all. It's a very fun game. The replay value, I think it has really good replay value. I actually went ahead and I bought it, and I got it on PlayStation for myself. I'm playing it through to try to find all of the manuscript, the pages to the story. You also find fucking 800 coffee thermoses throughout the game. I have no idea why these coffee thermoses are in this game and why you collect them. Now, what's cool is I believe there are these coffee thermoses in Control. Now, Control had a lot of references to Alan Wake, references to Bright Falls, these coffee thermoses. You found these, you came across like these visions where Alan Wake, like the actual actors that do Alan Wake were in Control as well. Alan Wake is referenced in Quantum Break, and somebody actually in game is playing Alan Wake, which I thought was just awesome. And you also see somebody wearing a shirt that references two characters, two brothers. I think it was like the old gods of Asgard, something like that, which is a reference to these, I think, two brothers in Alan Wake. And I think it's really cool that Remedy connects all of them. Now, whether they intended it to be a shared universe or not, which I find it hard to believe that this is just kind of like they're doing it for fun because of how connected, especially Control, to Alan Wake. I really love when I play a game and I see references to something else. It excites me, and it makes you feel like everything is connected and everything has a purpose and is there for a reason. So the replay value for me is very high. The story is really good, and you can go back and find more stuff, give it a second go. Now that you know what's easy, what's difficult, and what to expect, I always believe that with a story-heavy game, playing it the second time through, you take in the story more, because to me it seems like you pay more attention now. Because your first playthrough, you're trying to master the controls, master the technique of movement and combat, but then you get that under your belt and you become very fluid with it. Go back and do it again. Now you're paying attention even more so to the story and your surroundings, and you'll start picking up on things that you didn't pick up on before, and I find that very exciting. So I'm looking forward to playing it a second time through. You will see in the game that Alan Wake is kind of a very arrogant, pretentious, douchey kind of guy, but the whole premise of the game is he is trying to save his wife, and he's going to do anything he can to make that happen and find out what exactly is going on. As soon as he figures out that the entire situation he's in is based on his work, his writing. But just be prepared to feel like the whole game doesn't make sense to you. But don't let that deter you from even giving it a shot, because it does hook you in and you will want more. I promise. So if you've played the game and you love it, shoot me a message. Let's talk about it. I really enjoy connecting with everybody on that level. If you haven't played the game, if you have any questions, please get a hold of me as well. I promise, unless you ask me for it, I won't give away any spoilers. But I am definitely here to support Alan Wake and what Remedy did with the game. Now, with that wraps up the last episode of 2021. Thank you so much for everyone that has listened to me, that have downloaded the episodes. I see the downloads going through, and I know that that's one more person out there. Whether you listen to the entire episode or just a little bit, something made you give it a shot, and I really appreciate even that. I'm having a lot of fun so far. I really look forward to recording every week. I don't know what the next episode will be over yet. This Alan Wake was kind of a last-minute decision for me because I had just gotten done with it on Tuesday. I had another game in mind, but that one's going to wait because this one was so fresh. I wanted to get to it first. So thank you very, very much for listening. Give Alan Wake a shot. Happy New Year to everybody. Stay safe, have fun, be good to each other, and I will talk to you next year.